On boards, key issues and challenges in the Middle East and Africa. My name is Asia Benhida. I'm a partner at PwC Morocco and a board member of CFA Morocco. I'll have the pleasure to moderate this great conference organized by the Moroccan session of Dubai Expo 2020 and CFA Morocco on the sidelines of the Tolerance and Inclusivity Week of Dubai Expo 2020. So, welcome to all of you who are among us in the Women's Pavilion in Dubai Expo 2020. And it's also so good to see you, and a warm welcome to all of you watching us on the live streaming.
Le Club des femmes administrateurs est une histoire qui date de près de 10 ans. C'est Nza Hayat, actuellement à la tête de l'IMMC, qui a eu l'idée de créer CFA lorsqu'elle a découvert l'existence du réseau international WCD, qui est le plus important réseau au monde de femmes administrateurs. Elle a souhaité associer à la fondation du club 4 autres femmes chez qui la sensibilité aux questions de gouvernance était particulièrement prononcée.
J'aimerais réussir une carrière dans une grande entreprise, mais j'ai l'impression que j'aurai plus d'autonomie en faisant ma propre boîte.
On ne manque pas de femmes compétentes au Maroc. Aussi, quand Hayat m'a appelée en me disant « j'en ai assez d'entendre dire qu'il n'y a pas de femmes compétentes pour les conseils », nous avons très vite convergé vers l'idée de créer cette association pour identifier ces femmes, pour les mettre en valeur, pour les aider à intégrer des conseils d'administration.
Donc CFA a vu le jour sous forme d'association de droit marocain et est devenu le premier chapitre arabe et africain du réseau international WCD.
Pour être réaliste, je me demande est-ce qu'un jour je pourrais être administratrice d'une grande société.
Ce qu'on appelle le fameux plafond de verre, qui est un espèce de cumul d'obstacles invisibles auxquels font face les femmes et qui ne progressent pas autant et aussi vite que les hommes dans leur carrière.
J'ai eu le plaisir de recevoir cette association de femmes membres des conseils d'administration et j'ai été quelque peu étonné. Ma première réaction a été, si mes souvenirs sont bons, un refus d'accompagnement. Et petit à petit, j'ai découvert que la problématique est sérieuse et profonde. Je ne comprenais pas pourquoi on devait légiférer dans ce domaine-là. Eh bien, je me suis trompé. Il faut légiférer dans un certain nombre de domaines lorsque les gens ne le font pas spontanément.
C'est le gouverneur de Banque el-Maghreb, M. Abdeltif Jouahri, qui, le premier, a soutenu l'action du club. Il a en effet émis un certain nombre de textes qui ont permis de renforcer la présence des femmes au sein des conseils des établissements de crédit.
Ce n'était pas une obligation, c'est une recommandation, mais M. Jouahri est quelqu'un de très estimé et quand la Banque centrale fait une recommandation, les banques essayent de s'y conformer. Et cela a ouvert la voie à l'arrivée de femmes en tant qu'administrateurs indépendants, généralement, dans les conseils de nombreuses banques au Maroc.
CFA a fait partie de la task force constituée par une femme pour l'élaboration du plaidoyer ayant abouti en 2021 à l'amendement de la loi sur la SA qui impose aux sociétés faisant appel public à l'épargne une représentation équilibrée des femmes et des hommes, des instances de gestion et de gouvernance. C'est un résultat remarquable que nous n'aurions sans doute pas obtenu sans l'accompagnement de l'ancien ministre de Commerce et de l'Industrie, Moulay Hafid Alami.
Alors il y a un changement qui est fondamental, c'est que désormais les conseils d'administration seront plus équilibrés. C'est-à-dire que nous aurons une représentation d'au moins 40% de chaque genre, c'est-à-dire 40% d'hommes au moins et 40% de femmes au moins. Et c'est un objectif que nous devons atteindre dans les années qui viennent.
Personne ne me croit quand je dis que je suis mateuse.
Une femme qui est assertive, on va dire qu'elle est agressive, voire caractérielle. Une femme, on va dire d'elle qu'elle est moins mobile. Une femme, on va dire d'elle qu'elle va être moins disponible parce qu'elle va tomber enceinte, c'est ce qu'on appelle dans le jargon le mur de la maternité. Une femme, on va dire qu'elle est moins bonne en maths, etc., etc. Donc vous avez là beaucoup de stéréotypes qui existent, qui ont la peau dure et qu'il s'agit petit à petit de déconstruire et, si possible, dès le plus jeune âge, le plus tôt possible.
Sa Majesté le roi Mohammed VI a pris les devants en ayant une position extrêmement claire. Nous sommes un des pays arabo-musulmans où des décisions fondamentales mettant en place, non pas au profit des femmes, mais rééquilibrant le déséquilibre fondamental que l'on trouve dans toutes les sociétés. C'est un capital immatériel fondamental dont on doit prendre soin.
L'être humain préfère le connu à l'inconnu. Lorsqu'on donne le choix à compétences égales entre quelqu'un qui vous ressemble et quelqu'un qui est différent de vous, spontanément on ira vers ce qui nous ressemble. Et c'est comme ça qu'un conseil d'administration masculin, lorsqu'il aura à pourvoir un poste, il ira tout naturellement plutôt vers un homme, encore une fois à compétences égales.
La compétence n'a aucune relation avec le genre.
La loi, c'est un instrument, c'est un mal nécessaire, c'est un instrument qui enclenche une dynamique.
À compétences égales, c'est difficile de faire reconnaître son ambition.
Toutes les études montrent, et depuis assez longtemps, que la mixité est un vrai levier de performance en entreprise. Pour le dire tout simplement, obtenir davantage de mixité dans le monde de l'entreprise ne relève pas simplement d'une politique sociale. Ça rapporte.
Here today with us, with you, all of you. This session, Women on Boards, Key Issues, Main Challenges from the Women's Pavilion in Dubai Expo. Why do we choose this thematic? It's a real challenge for our society, a real challenge for our daughters, our sons, our women, our men. Indeed, international institutions are constantly warning of the urgent need to involve more women in economic activity, governance and parity, gender equality, inclusion and diversity. This is the cornerstone of our conference today. We'll have an exceptional lineup of distinguished keynote speakers and women leaders coming from Middle East, from Morocco, from USA and Africa. And I can't wait for you to listen to their insights and interact with them. To kick off this event, let me introduce you Mrs. Amina Figigi. Mrs. Amina Figigi is currently General Manager of the Moroccan National Office of Fisheries. She's an independent board member and president of the audit committee of some listed companies. She's also a board member of 2 public institutions. Amina Figigi is also the president of the Association of the International Fisheries Exhibition, Aliotis. And as a board member and a member of the National Commission of Corporate Governance, she participated in the development of the first Code of Good Practices in Corporate Governance, published in 2008 in Morocco. Amina is co-founder of the Moroccan Women Directors Association, Safa Morocco, of which she has been the president since 2017. Amina, please join us and welcome Amina.
Your Excellency, Mrs. the Minister, Mr. Governor, ladies and gentlemen, I am greatly pleased and honored as the President of the Moroccan Women Directors Association, Club des Femmes Administrateurs Safa Maroc, to make the opening speech for the Women on Board conference, which is held today as a part of an important event that is Expo 2020. First of all, I sincerely thank you for accepting the invitation to attend this event dedicated to a topic that is so dear to our hearts. I would also like to thank our guests who made long trips to be with us today. Besides, I need to thank the Moroccan section of the Expo 2020
and the organizers who provide us all the necessary help to hold this conference. Let me take this opportunity to thank the hosting country, UAE, and especially Dubai, for the amazing hospitality which can be seen and felt everywhere we go. On the behalf of the Moroccan Women Directors Association, please allow me to say a few words about our club and the love story that brought us together. Safa was founded in 2012, and its creation came to meet a real need. Why? Simply because in Morocco, as in the whole world, where men have developed networks everywhere, co-opting and sending back down the elevator for their peers, it was time for women to create their own network to assist and mentor each other. Morocco has made significant progress in terms of female leadership. So the creation of our club was a natural outcome of all the changes that our country has experienced so far. The main objectives of the Safa are to encourage the access of women to companies' boards in Morocco, to create and develop a pool of women directors with proven skills, to represent women directors before the various authorities in Morocco, to promote the principles of good governance, to integrate international networks of women directors and develop partnerships with them. Within this context, Safa is the first Arab and African chapter of WCD. Moreover, we have a partnership agreement with the Boardroom Africa. Our club has an executive board which relies on the proficiency of specialized committees who act in with a clear roadmap. So, initially, we tried to convince the decision makers and made them aware of the importance of women participation in boards, since diversity is a real lever for growth. We convinced a few of them, but honestly, that was not sufficient. So we realized that we had to pick up the pace. Today, we are part of a good dynamic. These decision makers and Moroccan companies have finally realized the importance of the role of women in boards. The adoption of a law in Morocco which aims to ensure a balanced representation of men and women within the boards of listed companies represents our greatest achievement. Thus, companies seeking to comply with this legal framework will have no difficulty to do so simply by opening their board's membership to women willing to face the challenge. In fact, with more than 85 members of Safa, it's a real pool of competent women, among whom there are ministers, CEOs, head managers, entrepreneurs, and various other skilled profiles. This is due to the fact that we have adopted a very selective approach to co-opt members as we focus on excellence. It's not a matter of growing in numbers, but quality is what matters for us. The objective of this conference will be to promote the capacity of women in the Middle East and Africa to occupy positions of responsibility in companies with regards to their added value. In a global market, companies must allow themselves a competitive advantage by seeking talents and skills to ensure performance and better results. Of course, we want to hire the best ones, but we must make sure that we are not leaving aside the skills that talented women will provide. Today, a large number of qualified and experienced women deserve to join companies' boards, since they will contribute to their success. Either for a man or a woman being appointed into a position of director means a commitment to serve his or her company faithfully. We strongly believe that feminization must be a vector of change that brings more diversity to companies to reach better efficiency. Seeing women holding board positions and responsibilities is a source of inspiration for those who are still at the threshold of their career. What is now possible for some women can be more likely for most of them in the future. This conference is the opportunity to develop these issues and share our ideas and experiences. Before I conclude, I would like to express my grateful thanks to the keynote speakers who agreed to participate and speak at this conference, namely Her Excellency Mrs. Shamsa Saleh, CEO of Dubai Women Establishment and Secretary General of the UAE Gender Balance Council, Mrs. Nadia Alawi, Moroccan Minister of Economy and Finance, and Mr. Abdellatif Jouahri, Governor of Moroccan Central Bank, Bank al-Maghrib. Once again, I wish you a warm welcome and hope that together we will enjoy success with female flavor.
Thank you so much, Amina, for your warm welcome. We are very proud to have you as a president of Safa Morocco. She's one of the strong women in Morocco and very exemplary in our role, model role in Morocco. So now, please join me in welcoming our first keynote speaker, Mrs. Shamsa Saleh, Her Excellency. تفضل, مرحبا. Let me introduce you, please. Her Excellency Shamsa Saleh is working directly with Her Highness Sheikha Manal bint Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. Under her leadership, Dubai Women Establishment has launched several key projects and initiatives which support the establishment's mission to enhance the crucial role of Emirati women as equal contributors to their society. Mrs. Saleh has been working to support gender balance and the empowerment of women in Dubai. Mrs. Saleh, welcome.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. First of all, I would like to welcome you to the Women's Pavilion by the UAE Gender Balance Council and Cartier. It's my great pleasure to join you today at this important conversation to discuss an effective role of women in the board of the organizations. This is a great opportunity to be amongst all of you at this important conversation to discuss effective role of women in corporate boards of organizations and leadership. This is a great, we have been following Moroccan's development on women access to leadership position very closely. At Morocco, as Morocco moves forward with its ambitious economic objective, it's great to see significant progress being made to increase number of female in decision-making positions in corporate entities. And I would like to specifically thank the CFA on their efforts in the field and on their joint collaboration with the International Finance Cooperation, the IFC. to increase women representation in the corporate boards. Here at the United Arab Emirates, we are firm supporters to the gender balance agenda, both at home and abroad. And we are proud of achievements taken in path to champion women to excel corporate leadership. Today, the theme of this event comes at fitting time. Next month, here in the UAE, we are celebrating the Golden Jubilee of our nation, marking 50 years of progress across the Emirates. We have come a long way as a country and as people. As such an important milestone, it's worth to highlight the progress of women have made in leadership, and also consider how we can build upon this year to come. I'm proud to say that the UAE is the first country in the region to introduce mandatory law for female representation in the boardroom, and second globally to launch an initiative of this kind. Boardroom success not only depends on understanding of board obligations, it depends on self-knowledge coupled with flexibility to change and learn. Today at the United Arab Emirates, according to the latest statistics, women representation across private sector and listed company boards stands at 5.3%. While this may not seem very high, but I'm happy to say that this representation has increased since 2015 from 1.4% to 5.3%, and this demonstrates significant progress. So, since the establishment has collaborated with various stakeholders to build women capabilities, and we are seeing this initiative bear fruit for corporates across the UAE. Overall, diversity and inclusion have been proven to increase the operational success and overall profitability of business and at an institutional level. Also, let's not forget, women make up half of the population today, and in many cases, half of the customer of the corporate entities. Having increased female representation in the boards affords a business a more holistic view of its customer and clients. In 2017, a paper titled Banking on Women Leaders, A Case for More by International Monetary Fund, the IMF, it was highlighted that the gender gap in leadership does make a difference when it comes to bank stability. The research also found that banks with higher shares of women board members had higher capital buffers and low proportion on non-performing loans, a greater resistance to stress. Women's participation is not only a moral question, but also a practical one. And prioritizing diversity in leadership is not about achieving an optical balance. It's about tapping into full depth and breadth of talent available, thereby equip companies with talent from both genders. As we look to the future and to the world that we will be more complex with challenge that we have to encounter. We will need to call the ingenuity of both men and women collectively. In reflection, we are proud of the progress that we have made so far, but importantly, we know there is still much more to do in the UAE and globally. So in the UAE, we will continue work to empower women in leadership positions in corporate boards world and throughout the full spectrum of society. Today we launched in March 2021 another mandatory law for women representation in private sector companies. And in only a few months, we really noticed a major change when it comes to women representation on these boards, and more to come by end of the year. So as we are speaking today, we reached already about 10 to 12% when it comes to women in listed companies. So we are proud of this success, and we have all enablers available to help and support women, such as building capabilities through a professional development session, women leadership session, and we also introduce the first of its kind guide for women to go to the boardrooms when it comes to election process, selection process, and performing basic standards of corporate governance on board itself. So this will help us help us actually in building a huge database of 200 women on Dubai level ready to be board members. So all of these steps really help and enables us to excel in this agenda and move forward. We wish all the best. I wish you all the best in the rest of this conference, and thank you for your time and coming. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Her Excellency. It's an honor to have you with us today. And your role, your model role also, is so much important in the Middle East. So thank you so much for being with us today. Please join me in welcoming our special guest and keynote speaker, Mr. Abdeltif Jouahri, the governor of the Moroccan Central Bank, Bank of Morocco. Please.
Son Excellence, Madame Shamsa Saleh, directrice exécutive de la Fondation Dubaï pour la femme et secrétaire générale du Conseil pour l'égalité des genres des Émirats arabes unis, Madame Nadia, ministre de l'économie et des finances et commissaire général de la section marocaine de l'Expo 2020 Dubaï. Honorable assistance, c'est pour moi un immense plaisir de participer avec vous aujourd'hui à cette importante rencontre organisée dans le cadre de l'exposition universelle Expo 2020 Dubaï. J'aurais aimé y prendre part physiquement et me retrouver une nouvelle fois dans ce pays où je me sens toujours chez moi, mais malheureusement de multiples contraintes m'en ont empêché. Je tiens en tout cas à féliciter les autorités émiratives pour l'organisation exceptionnelle de cet événement dont les échos confirment chaque jour davantage la pleine réussite et l'immense succès qu'il connaît. Je me réjouis également qu'à cette occasion on ait retenu un thème qui, à titre personnel, me tient particulièrement à cœur et félicite les organisateurs pour ce choix. En particulier, je voudrais remercier pour m'avoir invité Mesdames Amina Figuigui et Nadia, respectivement présidente et vice-présidente du Club des femmes administrateurs Safa Maroc. Mesdames et messieurs, le thème de cette rencontre, axé sur la présence des femmes dans les organes de gouvernance, nous renvoie inéluctablement à la question de la contribution de la femme à l'activité économique et plus globalement à la problématique des inégalités de genre. Sur ce registre, je pense que je n'ai nul besoin d'argumenter ou de justifier l'importance de cette problématique. Sa récurrence dans les débats publics au sein des instances nationales et internationales, ainsi que les nombreux rapports réguliers ou ponctuels qui lui sont consacrés, attestent de plus en plus de l'enjeu qu'elle représente, mais également et heureusement d'une plus grande prise de conscience. Il ne s'agit pas seulement d'un problème d'exclusion sociale, mais aussi, et comme nous le savons tous, d'un manque à gagner économique considérable. Les données disponibles sur les différentes dimensions de cette problématique montrent malheureusement que notre région MENA enregistre des niveaux d'inégalité de genre parmi, si ce n'est le plus élevé au niveau mondial. Je pense cependant qu'il y a de plus en plus une réelle prise de conscience de la situation et on constate ces dernières années l'adoption dans la région de politiques et d'initiatives pour autonomiser les femmes et renforcer le statut économique, social et politique. J'aimerais, si vous le permettez, donner quelques illustrations en me référant à mon pays et à l'institution que j'ai l'honneur de diriger. Mesdames et messieurs, depuis plusieurs années, le Maroc s'est engagé dans un processus d'amélioration de la situation de la femme, ratifiant plusieurs conventions internationales et adhérant aux instruments onusiens relatifs aux droits humains en général et des femmes en particulier. Depuis le début du millénaire, le processus de modernisation de la société s'est accéléré avec d'importantes réformes visant l'instauration du principe de l'égalité et de l'équité entre les genres. Ainsi, en 2004, la loi sur l'état civil, la Moudouana, a été modernisée et le statut de la femme dans la famille a été renforcé. En 2011, le pays s'est doté d'une nouvelle constitution qui a consacré les droits de l'homme et l'égalité homme-femme. Plusieurs lois ont été adoptées pour assurer l'harmonisation de la législation nationale avec les instruments internationaux que le Maroc a ratifiés et dont il reconnaît désormais la primauté sur l'ordre normatif interne. Dans le même sens, et pour fédérer les différentes initiatives visant la promotion de l'égalité des genres et l'intégration des droits des femmes au niveau des politiques publiques et des programmes de développement, un plan gouvernemental pour l'égalité intitulé IKRAM a été élaboré pour la période 2012-2016, puis élargi et prolongé jusqu'à 2021. En parallèle, une stratégie spécifique d'institutionnalisation du principe de l'égalité entre les sexes dans la fonction publique a été adoptée en 2016. Ceci étant, le véritable défi reste de réussir la mise en œuvre effective de ces textes et programmes et d'en assurer un suivi régulier et étroit, et ce qui n'est pas gagné d'avance. Mesdames et messieurs, l'accélération des efforts pour le renforcement du rôle économique de la femme et la réduction des inégalités de genre nécessite la mobilisation de toutes les parties prenantes, autorités gouvernementales, sociétés civiles, institutions publiques et privées et organisations nationales et internationales. Les banques centrales, en particulier, peuvent, en tant que régulateurs, apporter leur propre contribution. À Banque al-Maghrib, nous œuvrons de façon continue pour améliorer la représentativité des femmes au sein des organes d'administration des établissements de crédit selon une démarche progressive. Nous avons ainsi institué en 2014 l'obligation pour ces instances de mettre en place une politique visant à assurer une meilleure représentativité des femmes. 2 ans plus tard, cette directive a été renforcée en requérant le respect du principe de la parité dans la nomination des administrateurs indépendants. Nos efforts dans ce sens se poursuivent avec une nouvelle recommandation réglementaire dont l'objectif est d'amener le secteur bancaire à œuvrer davantage en faveur de la réduction des inégalités de genre et d'une finance plus inclusive. Ce texte réglementaire, dont l'adoption interviendra avant la fin de cette année, appelle à une véritable prise en compte de la dimension genre. Il s'agit d'abord de l'instauration de l'égalité professionnelle hommes-femmes au sein des établissements bancaires. 2. Du développement d'offres adaptées aux besoins de la clientèle féminine, notamment les entrepreneurs, axés sur des mécanismes de refinancement dédiés tels que le gender bonds et l'accompagnement dans la réalisation des projets financés. Par ailleurs, pour accélérer le rattrapage du déficit en matière d'accès aux services financiers, le ministère en charge des Finances et Banque al-Maghreb ont élaboré et mis en œuvre une stratégie nationale d'inclusion financière. Celle-ci vise comme cible prioritaire les femmes, les jeunes et la population rurale. Mesdames et messieurs, en parallèle à ces efforts consentis en tant que régulateur, Banque al-Maghreb s'efforce en tant qu'entreprise de s'ériger en exemple en matière d'égalité professionnelle femmes-hommes. Nous avons instauré l'équité et l'égalité dans tous les processus de la banque, le recrutement, la promotion et les droits sociaux. Les femmes constituent aujourd'hui 40% des effectifs de la banque, le même pourcentage de son encadrement et de son comité directeur. Notre plan stratégique 2019-2023 érige l'égalité femmes-hommes en tant que principe directeur devant accompagner les actions de la banque. En 2020, Banque al-Maghreb s'est dotée d'une charte de l'égalité professionnelle femmes-hommes qui consacre en particulier le caractère inclusif du milieu du travail et la mixité au niveau des métiers et favorise la conciliation vie professionnelle, vie privée. Pour s'enquérir des meilleures pratiques en matière de prise en compte de la dimension genre et faciliter l'échange d'expériences, nous avons institué une rencontre régulière avec un certain nombre de banques centrales dédiées au genre et réservées exclusivement aux femmes. Cette initiative connaît un grand succès et nous sommes sollicités par plusieurs banques centrales qui désirent se joindre à nous. Notre ambition est de la transformer et de transformer cette initiative en un forum intercontinental dans un premier temps, Afrique, Amérique latine, des banques centrales dédiées à la question du genre. Mesdames et messieurs, la lutte contre les inégalités de genre requiert une volonté politique affirmée et continue, un suivi renforcé et une concertation de toutes les parties prenantes. Au-delà des politiques publiques, il s'agit d'un changement de culture, surtout dans notre région, qu'il faut réaliser à travers un travail permanent d'éducation, de promotion et de sensibilisation. À la veille d'une nouvelle ère post-Covid, marquée par les séquelles de la crise, des mutations profondes et des changements de paradigme, ce travail est plus que jamais nécessaire pour renforcer la résilience de nos économies et de nos sociétés, une résilience qui requiert la mobilisation et la valorisation de toutes les ressources, notamment humaines, dont la femme en constitue une composante essentielle. Je vous remercie.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jouahri, for your incredible support and conviction that the economic and social development of Morocco is based on women inclusion. The intervention of Mr. Jouahri summarized the great importance of today's session, leading us to our first panel discussion. With our guests, we'll overview the context, the environment of women's presence in governance organs, the current limits, and recommended levers to strengthen their presence in the boards. To take this conversation forward, I will be introducing my guests one at a time as they are taking seats. You will see they are amazing, incredible, and brilliant women. Mrs. Dunya Tarji has appointed by His Majesty King Mohammed VI as CEO of the Moroccan Sovereign Wealth Fund, Fonds Hassan II pour le développement économique et social, in 2019. She's an influent member of the board of different state-owned companies. Dunia Tarji began her career in investment banking in France, in Paris, then in Casablanca. She has been appointed in 2001 at the head of CDVM, the Financial Market Regulatory. She is very active in promoting corporate social responsibility and good governance. She was vice president of the CSR Commission within the Moroccan Employers Confederation, the CGEM, and she is co-founder of CFA Morocco. Please join us. Dunia Tarji. Our second guest, she's coming from Colorado. She's had 24 hours to come here, and we are so happy to see you today. Maribeth Vitali. Maribeth Vitali is a sitting public company director and former CEO. She was CEO chair of Westwind Media, President CEO of Rocky Mountain Internet, and President Corporate Officer for AT&T. Currently, she's a seasoned board director serving on 2 publicly traded boards. She also serves on the WCD, the Women Corporate Directors Foundation Board. She's a SEC qualified financial expert, holds the Cybersecurity Board Oversight Certificate, and she's a National Association of Corporate Directors, NACD. Maribeth was voted as one of the top 100 directors in the US by the NACD in 2020. Please join us, Maribeth. Last but not least, we are honored to have with us today a brilliant woman, Akini Ochenk. She's an advisor to the Boardroom Africa, the region's largest network of board-ready female executives. She's also an experienced social impact consultant supporting corporations, foundations, and non-profits in building initiatives designed for impact, and she creates movements that drive change. She has worked with leading organizations and movements as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the United Nations Foundation, on galvanizing stakeholders to accelerate commitments to gender equality around the globe. She has a large experience. In 2019, she was named one of the 100 most influential people of African descent in media under 40, and she is 29 years. Welcome, Akini. So, welcome to our guests, and let's start our discussion. So, ladies, corporate governance is becoming increasingly important for companies, as we've seen with Mrs. Amina Figigi, Mrs. Shamsa Saleh, the governor of the central bank. In terms of efficiency and performance, we are all convinced by this point that it's a key fact, a key element for the efficiency and the performance of our companies. This is often the result of political will. We've seen it with the governor, clearly stated in laws and public policies. As well, it's the result of the awareness of the different stakeholders. Among these stakeholders, there are associations. The Boardroom Africa, WCD, CFA Morocco. So, in this panel, we'll have an overview of your associations which have a key role in your region. Dear Dunia, you are the co-founder and board member of CFA Morocco, and as mentioned by the governor of the Central Bank of Morocco, the role of the different stakeholders is key if we want to raise women on boards. Safa was created in 2012, nearly 10 years. It's a long journey, 10 years. What's the contribution of CFA Morocco for this purpose? And what are the main achievements you are most proud of?
Well, thank you, Asia. I'm very happy to be here today with you to participate to this event during the Tolerance and Inclusivity Week, because the issue of inclusivity is an issue that also arises in governance and at the level of board of directors. When we created the association in 2012, our purpose was to make talented women visible for board of directors and to help them to have access to these boards. So we first started by trying to convince recognized board directors to join us. And well, at the beginning it was not easy because we had nothing to offer, only little to offer. And only few people were concerned by this woman director's situation. So our first challenge, we discovered that our first challenge was to raise the awareness about the situation, and we tried to understand the link between diversity, women parity, and companies' performance. So we kept moving by learning, understanding, and advocating. So little by little, we gained more audience, and we managed to raise the awareness among key opinion leaders, among CEOs and women also. And then more and more women joined us and started working with us, doing this job of explaining and trying to convince why it is important to have women, to have diversity. It is important because it makes boards take better decisions. And now, as our chairman, Amina Figigi, already said, we have a network of more than 80 women who are already board directors, and it's our first achievement. But it was already a challenge. But on top of that challenge, the biggest challenge for us was to make law evaluate, and it ended with it ended by the law adopted last summer. But we started a first attempt in 2015, trying to introduce a clause in the corporate society law, positive discrimination for women. But it has been rejected because a restrictive vision of our constitution does not allow any discrimination, even a positive one. But we were very, very lucky to have the support of the central bank governor, as he explained. And from his first recommendation, he managed to change the deal, because even if it was just a recommendation, most banks started to invite, to co-opt women in their boards, especially independent women directors. And then and we are very thankful for him. And then in 2019, we created a task force with other stakeholders in order to act on the law. And we were working with other NGOs that are active on women empowerment, also with the Ministry of Finance, and also a big thank to Moulay Hafid Al-Alami, and with the UN Women representation in Morocco. And we prepared a detailed advocacy file with a lot of arguments explaining why it is important on economic factor, why gender diversity has a great impact on the economic performance of a company. And as we learned from the previous attempt, we spotted gender imbalance, i.e. not enough men or not enough women. We were not speaking about positive discrimination, no. We were speaking, if there's not enough men, it's a problem. If there's not enough women, it is a problem. The decision is not the better decision that a board can make. So we also started advocating political leaders, trying to have their support when the law reaches the government, and we make it. And we are very proud that this joint effort gave such a result. So now we have this law, and for us it's really a game changer. And, well, the next challenges will be to implement it as the central governor just said.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations on these achievements, which mark an important milestone in Morocco. And obviously, CFA has become a key actor in governance and gender issues in Morocco. What are the next challenges? You've had a huge challenge with the law. Now, as the governor said, we need to implement.
Yes.
What are the next challenges for CFA Morocco?
Okay, so the challenge is, now that we have a law and we have the support of institutions and the bigger awareness in the society, is to make it real on the field. So we have to monitor the figures. We launched a study in partnership with IFC, the International Finance Corporation, to try to understand better the situation and to have indicators that we will follow. So it's a tool that we will monitor year after year to see how the situation is evolving. So the situation now is that in listed companies, because the laws only applies to listed companies, there are 17% women at the board of directors, and we have to the level should reach 30% in 3 years from now and 40% in 6 years. It means that we have to double the number, and so it means that we have to enlarge our network to have more women directors that are recognized professionals and to train them and to have them ready so that when a company will look for women directors, they will have access to a large selection of potential candidates. But on top of women who are already board directors, we also have to select younger women with high potential and help them, train them in order to make them ready for board positions. And for that, we will work, we expect to learn from our sister companies. I know that you have done a lot on training, and we really want to learn from you. But we all know that board of directors positions are the last level in a company's organization. And the problem is that most women get discouraged before accessing to high levels in organizations. So the issue is to promote women empowerment, to maintain them on the work market. That's an issue before our issue. And in Morocco, we have a real problem with jobs for women because we only have 20% of women on formal jobs. I speak of formal jobs because we know that they work much more than what is in the figures. But
it's a big issue.
That's another problem. Well, it is this issue of women on the work market is a big issue for our country. And we know that there are a lot of reasons for that. We have educational gap, we have cultural patterns, we have glass ceiling, we have lack of networks, we have lack of role models, etc., etc. I mean, there are numerous. We have to work on that. And it's an issue for the economic development, as the central governor just said. Our newly elected government has committed to to increase this level from 20% to 30%. That's a very good news. But he will not work alone. A lot of NGOs are active on women empowerment, and they will do their part. So we, as CFR, what can we do? What can be our contribution? Well, we understand that each time a woman accesses to a board member position, it transforms the way the top management of the company understands the gender issues. And generally, it creates a dynamic into the company, a dynamic to reduce those so many obstacles for women to access to higher positions. So when we work as CFA to promote, to help women to access to board positions, we help them contribute to become role models for their companies. Because each time you have a woman accessing to a board position, there are a lot of women in the organization who look at her and say, well, if she manages to go there, it's possible for me. And it creates hope. So our next challenge, our continuous challenge for CFA, is to bring awareness, access, and hope for women empowerment.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dunia. Et rendez-vous in the next decades.
Yes.
So, thank you. Dear Maribeth, can you tell us about WCD, Women Corporate Directors? Dunia, she talks about the network, the importance of the network, and we know that WCD has an incredible international network and a strong network.
Well, thank you very much, Asia. And I am so pleased to be here and that CFA Morocco asked me to join. And just to put it in context, yes, 24 hours, but I left a snowstorm and I'm here in the desert. So it's lovely to be here today. So let me tell you a little bit about women corporate directors, and CFA is one of our chapters throughout the world. We've been around for 20 years, just going on that, and we're headquartered in the United States, but we're global. And we have chapters on every continent throughout the world. And I think that that's a real critical differentiation for women corporate directors. And women in the boardroom is not just our goal, it's our mission at Women Corporate Director. And why that is, it is so critical that we are at the table in the boardroom, that the women are there, because that's where the decisions are being made. The big decisions, an M&A transaction, strategy going forward, the competitive advantage. If we're not there, our input will not be shared with the board and the rest of the management team. So what does WCD do? So first of all, we have chapters, as I mentioned, across the world. Morocco obviously is one. I started the chapter with 2 other women about 6 years ago in Colorado. But we've got the chapters, and our newest one just last month was Sri Lanka. So we have one there now, starting with a very small, but I think 15 women that serves on boards of directors there. And the chapters offer training and education. That's our main responsibility of number 1. And so they'll offer on topical topics so that we're probably the best educated women, or the best educated directors, because we pay attention to our craft and make sure we are up to date on all of the issues that are necessary to make a board and a company successful. We hold conferences throughout the world. The last 2 years, not so much, other than because of COVID, but we had virtual conferences that also happened, as well as webinars. So that's the number 1 thing, is education for the boards of directors. The number 2 is board opportunities. what has happened in the United States with the awareness of gender, and I'll get into some of the details of gender and racial diversity on your board and success, they're coming to women corporate directors with board opportunities. Companies don't know where to find us. And I hear it all the time, I don't know a woman who's qualified. Well, just look around. We're all here. And there are women throughout the world that are qualified. And at Women Corporate Director, our chapters, all of those women sit on boards of directors. So they could sit on the number 2, the number 3 board in terms of that. So we have an opportunity that companies are coming to us and asking us to put the posting for the new board opportunities. And that's exclusive to women corporate directors who are members. The third thing that we do is we have an organization called Board Next, and that's for aspiring young board, people that could be board members that are women. And so people that are mid-career and maybe getting to the senior level and helping them understand what the role of the board is, what your responsibilities are. And so if they do get that opportunity to go into an interview for a board, they really do have the knowledge and can walk the talk. So I think that that's very important. So Asiya wanted me to talk about networking. Well, 85% of all board seats are filled through networking, that somebody knew you. It could be the direct person that knows you that's making the decision. It could also be that they knew somebody that knew you. And networking is so critical in terms of letting people know you are first one interested in getting on a board and why you're qualified to be on the board. The current board members that are women have to help other women. That is critical, that we have to pull up, and I'll explain an opportunity that presented itself for me. The second thing is, all you men here in the room and that are watching virtually, the men have to help pull the women up also. It's critical that we have to use 100%. And you had mentioned that there's 50% of the population is women. Well, there's another 50% that are men, and we need to have everybody helping that. What CEO who is a male doesn't want the same opportunities for their daughters? And so that is really important that they have it. So how do you network and how do you go about it? I think it's really, and we talk about that in WCD at some of the chapters and the conferences, is that you need to make sure you know who is making the decision. The CEOs make the decision, the chairs of the NomGov make the decision, and the NomGov committees, and then lastly, the full board makes a decision. So you need to network with those people. And if you don't know who those people are, talk to your own neighbors, friends, people at your school, ask them, do you know somebody at this particular organization? Also, service providers, such as PwC, they know when opportunities are going to be available on the audit committee. Compensation consultants, such as a Perlmeyer, they'll know when opportunities are available on the comp committee. And then as well as the legal counsels for those boards, they know when those opportunities are available. So especially for public boards, the SEC counsels would be their responsibilities. And then I think it's really important that you know what your value is. So what do you, as a woman, bring to the table for a board? How can you help it? And I think it's really, when you look at the MENA area here, you are living in highly mineral and rich oil and gas. What U.S. board wouldn't want a woman from here and would want them to be part of their board, because you are in region, you know what is happening here, you know what's on there. But they're not thinking that yet, but we have to help them think that way. Financial accreditation. I have a SEC qualified financial expert. That's very important on a board. I'm also a cybersecurity expert for boards. That is very important. So you have to know what your value is and bring that to table. And the hot button right now is ESG, environment, social, and governance. So it's really important that if you've got that expertise, and a lot of times it's the chief human resource officer, which tends to be mainly women in those roles. those people are really in high demand and desire. And I think lastly, it's important that when you're looking at networking, that you align with the strategy of the company and the customers. I'm sure all of you are familiar with Walmart. Walmart, up until a couple of years ago, they had no women on their boards. And 88% of the people that are shopping in there are Latina, at least in the United States, Latina women, and they're women. So, and you have nobody on your board. Mattel was in the same position. They had no women on the board. What do they sell? Barbie dolls. Who buys the Barbie dolls? Women. So wouldn't you want that insight there? So again, I think the point I want to talk about networking in a real life experience that I just had of how important it is that you want to make sure that you're going to get the best and brightest talent. So you don't want to look at just 50% of the population. And I think it's really important that you have enlightened men and women on the board level. I sit on a public board on the East Coast called Luna Innovations. It does fiber optics and sensing materials and very technical in terms of that international company. And we have an old white male who is our chair of the board who is enlightened. So males that are enlightened. And he said, I was the first woman to go on that board. He said, we need another woman. We want a woman of color. But most importantly, we want somebody with capital markets. And how networking played, and I'm chair of the NomGov committee. So he says, let's source them out. And I said, let me find, and I went to all of my sources. And lo and behold, at a recent WCD virtual, because we were still in COVID meeting, there on the tiles, I see a woman who I know well. I've met her at conferences. We've chatted. And she never came to my mind. And she has steeped in capital markets. She's with Liberty Media, which is a global company, a lawyer, WCD member. She is a woman, and she's a woman of color. And so I called her up. I said, let's get together. Let's see if this works. And about 6 months later, she was awarded on our board, and she's now on our board. We have 2 women, and we have a woman of color on the board. So networking is so important. And in the United States, only 5% of board seats are filled by women of color. So I'll get into as we go with the next question.
In a few words, because time is running out, can you share with us WCD initiatives to diversity, gender, and racial in the United States?
Sure.
Short words.
We are definitely, on the forefront of that and making sure when we have the board opportunities, we're definitely looking for diverse candidates. And just so you know, I think the stats are so compelling. 30%, we've reached 30% of women on boards and in the United States. And it's 10 years ago, it was 16%. So it's growing rapidly. And 3 women really is the tipping point, and I think the results are compelling in terms of stock prices. The stock prices with 3 women on the board is up 37%, versus no women on the board, it's a negative 8%. These are huge, back to the reason of why it's important. We have a better return on investment, over 28%. The risks go down when you have women on the board. And I think it's really important that women get into the leadership positions in terms of that. And how we've accomplished some of these increases, we have, your banking chair talked about it, we have institutional investors such as BlackRock demanding that they want women on the board or they're going to vote no. NASDAQ will not take an IPO to market without women on the board. Goldman Sachs will not underwrite unless you have a woman on the board. California, states are saying you have to have 40% of women on your board. Compensation committees are putting metrics for the pay of the CEO on diversity and having that. And I think it's really that the stats prove itself out. It's the reason why you should do this, not because it's the right thing to do. It's the right business thing to do.
Okay, thank you so much, Mary Beth, for sharing with us the U.S. experience. What about Africa? So the Boardroom Africa is the largest network of board-ready female executives in Africa. In a few words, can you present us the Boardroom Africa? Who is your association? And concretely, how do you prepare first-time board directors? Please.
Thank you so much to CFA Morocco and to Asia for having us here today. I'm delighted to be representing the Boardroom Africa. As you've said, we're the largest organization representing board-ready female executives in Africa. So membership is all peer endorsed. They're all director, VP or above at large international, regional, national organizations. We have about 1,800 members now across 65 countries, including everywhere from Algeria to Zimbabwe, across the diaspora, diverse sectors. It could be technology, consumer goods, healthcare, and more. We've been around for about 5 years, and in 5 years, it's been a hard road. It's been, as all of you know, this issue area is one that requires a lot of persistence to see change, but we're slowly starting to see results. So even last week, we launched a board diversity charter that saw a lot of interest, especially from investors, from the investor community. So on that board diversity charter, our initial signatories are some of the leading development finance institutions who are leading investors across the continent, so including CDC Group, including DEG, Norset Finance, et cetera. And we've seen that actually our strategy was to start with the investor community to shift companies, their portfolio companies, and their thinking around gender diversity. But to step back for a second, the Boardroom Africa really is, we're advocates for change. We are facilitators of connections. We amplify talent. So in terms of advocating for change, our work is really appearing at forums like this, but also in spotlighting what progress is being made and how we can move the needle. So we've done board diversity indices in several countries across Africa, looking at progress of their listed boards. So we've done it in Egypt, we've done it in Ghana, in Kenya, hoping soon maybe to do one in Morocco, and looking at progress year over year and spotlighting who is really leading in a respective country and who is lagging behind. What sectors can we learn from so that we can foster learnings not only within a country, but across borders as well. Then secondly, on the amplifying talent side of things, we work with our entire membership and match them to opportunities. So it's not only about identifying the opportunity, it's about coaching women on how do you show up at the interview, what skills and competencies should you highlight, who do you need to be talking to Mary Beth's point about networking. We help our members with all of that so that they can show up as their best selves and get that board position when the opportunity arises. Because for us, it's not just about that 1 or 2 members. As Mary Beth said, we're really hoping to, at minimum, get 3 women on a board and the best get parity, because we think that this is really how we're going to move the needle. I mean, Africa is struggling with respect to developmental indicators, and having women involved in making the best decisions possible at the board level is how we think that we're going to accelerate economic outcomes. But you asked me specifically about training and what we've done there, and I think that that's an area where we've seen a lot of success. So in 2018, we started a program called Open Doors, and that is a accredited board training program. We do that in partnership with the Institute of Directors. They're UK-based. Well, we have global chapters, but we work with the UK chapter. And pre-COVID, this used to be an in-person intensive workshop because the idea was not only to give women the skills and resources they need, but also to build community. And what better way to do that than coming together with like-minded women, similarly passionate, similarly energized. Since COVID started, we've pivoted that model online. But to date, since 2018, we've trained about 65 women on everything from finance to risk to the basics of corporate governance, because our philosophy is that there's some things that you can learn through training, through directed reading, etc. We think that one of the challenges that's facing women getting on boards, particularly in the African context, is that boards, understandably, many of them are looking for people who've been there and done that. And what does that mean most of the time? It means that most people they're looking for are men. So we have to begin to be more open to the idea of having more first-time female board directors. And a first-time board director also can have something to offer, whether that's someone who's on the younger side like myself, right? Someone who might have experience in digital media, consumer media, who has knowledge of an emerging segment. We talked about how women of color in the US are emerging as a key market driver. We also believe that first-time board directors, if you're looking at a skills matrix, you should be assessing what are the gaps in terms of what your board has and what you need to bring in the next generation, and also be thinking continuously about succession planning. Who is going to fill the seat? Not at the time when that need arises, but months, years before that. Who are we grooming to be that next generation board leader? So we have a strong focus on that, and open doors has been a critical component of those training programs. And then secondly, in the last year, we launched a board apprentice program in which we have host boards that volunteer to have a first-time board director, someone who is an executive, but maybe who hasn't been at the board level yet, participate in board meetings, understand what the dynamics of the boardroom are, and then for the host board themselves, that presents an opportunity to expand the diversity of their board, but also to hear about people who could be a prospective board member in future.
And what kind of challenges or issues of diversity are you facing too? In terms of diversity, do you have specific issues?
I think that we've seen, interestingly, with the central banks speaking up more across different countries, with the financial services in particular as a sector, I think, having a spotlight on these issues, that across the continent, that the financial services sector is one where we've seen a lot of progress. But with respect to issues and challenges, I think really it boils down to the prioritization of board diversity as an issue. I mean, only 1 in 3 African CEOs say it's a priority issue area from a study several years ago. So we have to really start with an awareness raising. Okay. And so we do that through, whether it's the indices, whether it's events, whether it's also getting men within our network. We're endorsing even women who join our network to speak up.
Okay, thank you so much, Akini. And thank you so much, ladies. They are so brilliant. If you have one recommendation, in quick words, please, before the second panel, if you had one recommendation and only one, what could it be? One recommendation, please.
I can start. I mean, just from what I was saying, I think that board succession planning, right? Think about building that pipeline before that need arises, and think about expanding the aperture of who you're considering for those roles.
Okay, Maribeth?
Say yes to everything. Say yes, speak at conferences, write a blog, say yes to everything to get your name out there.
Say yes to everything. Okay. Dunia?
Dare to ask for what you think you should have.
Okay.
Don't wait for people to offer you.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Mrs. Dunia Tarji, Mrs. Maribeth Vitale, and Akini Ochenk. Thank you, ladies. This is the end of our first panel. Please. Ça va et toi? So welcome to our Women on Board session today on key issues and challenges in Middle East and North Africa and Africa region. For our second panel, I want to welcome 3 incredible women leaders in their companies, in their countries. So let me introduce our 3 guests. Mrs. Leila Mahmouf. Leila Mahmouf is the General Manager of Safa Crédit Agricole Group and a member of Safa Morocco. Leila Mahmouf is one of those who broke the glass ceiling that kept women from senior enterprise management in the Morocco banking sector. After rising on the top of the corporate level of Wafa Salaf to become head of the credit organization, she became in charge of the launch of consumer credit in Senegal, Ivory Coast, and Tunisia. A success that would lead her to assume the role of general manager of Sofinco, one of the leaders of the consumer credit in France. And she's a chairwoman of the European subsidiaries of the Crédit Agricole Consumer Finance. So, welcome to Leila. They are two incredible women. They cannot be with us today in Dubai, but they are connected in live streaming. Let me introduce you Lamia Tazi. Lamia Tazi is the chairwoman of the board and CEO of Sotema, one of the first pharmaceutical companies in Morocco and one of the leading corporations in Africa and the Middle East. Lamia had a significant contribution in developing the business of the company, especially at the international level, by making sure that Sotema becomes a trusted contract manufacturer offering its services to the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world. She's vice president of the Moroccan Federation of Pharmaceutical Industry, member of Safa Morocco, and board member at the CGM. Lamia is also involved in social and humanitarian organization, which is active in the fields of healthcare, assistance, and child protection. Welcome, Leila. So good to see you from Casablanca. So we are so happy to see you today. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lamia. Last but certainly not least, let us welcome Ralia Septi, co-founder and general manager of 8 Manos, and she's also member of CFA Morocco. In 1995, she created with her husband, Taoufik Benani, 8 Manos, a company dedicated to arts and crafts in Morocco. Since its inception, 8 Manos developed beyond its borders and grew its turnover by exporting to the 4 continents, North America, Europe, Asia, and Oceania. Her entrepreneurship, sorry, I'm not speaking English-speaking women. Her entrepreneurship spirit can also be explained by her passion for efforts and sports. From a very young age, Ralia Septi was one of the few Moroccans to have taken part in the Winter Olympic at Albertville in 1992. She's also a triathlete, regularly finishing triathlon Ironman 70.3. So we have all incredible women. Ralia Septi was founded within the Moroccan Employers Confederation, the first federation of artisanal companies in charge of defending the handicraft sector's interests. So welcome to Ralia, and we are also so happy to see you today from Casablanca. How are you?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Nadia. I would have loved to have the snowstorm here. Unfortunately, we have only this. Hi, everyone.
So, ladies, thank you so much for being with us, and we'll start our second panel. Dear Leila, before listening to your testimony about your experience, I would like to have your feedback on the first panel. We've listened to many things, very important elements for the success of women on board.
And thank you, ladies, for this exchange. So what I can say that the synergies between the public authorities, between the network association is good, but is not enough. For me, the decision will be taken not only vertically, but also horizontally. This is why I think that the role of the CEO, because I'm here as a CEO, is a crucial. It's important to embody the people around this topic. It's not only a topic defined by the public authorities. So the policy and positive discrimination is not enough. It's essential, but it's not enough. But for me, these 2 words, it's change the culture and the training.
And we'll develop these elements and these points about the training and how we can develop women in organizations. As a CEO, we've seen CEOs have a major role in the inclusion of women in the workforce. And can you share with us the actions or initiatives you have taken at your level to promote women's leadership?
Okay. You know, I'm very practical a woman. So 15 years ago, I noticed that when I have a small team with only men, it doesn't work. And when I have a small team with only women, it doesn't work. And I started to mix. And this is at this moment, I noticed that the result is better because there is a positive competition between the team. So this is why I introduced in the company a new HR strategy regarding the management. But it was important to explain at the team in internal why it's important. It's not only topics about a woman. It's not only because we want to have a position. This is not the issue. We want to have the best and the better company, and we are talking about competitivity. This is why I made a lot of workshop with my team to define this specific HR strategy, because all the team need to carry out this strategy. It's not because I wanted to do that as a CEO, it will work. No, it's very, very crucial to embody the people, because to understand why you are doing that, it's the half of the to win this topic. And there is one thing about skills, and we are agree together, my team and me, that skills have no gender. And if we are be competitive, we need to have a very to have a strategy around a gender parity.
And how you did it?
So I had two axes in internal to explain to the team, because it's the internal strategy, but also in external, because I wanted to the team to be proud of this organization, and I didn't wait and I didn't wait for any law or like a central bank. Central bank, they help us, but I started very, very early, 15
in internal development of
years.
Competencies and skills.
And I start to by one conference cycle around the women leadership. Why? Because I wanted to inspire my team. And when I talk about the team, I talk about the men and women, because it's not a women topics, it's a society topics. And I invited during every year, during 1 month, the month of March, every week I invite inspiring women, and there are many in Morocco. And the objective is to come to discuss with the team and to talk about their journey, to talk about their tenacity and how they make her dreams come a reality. And what I did, it was specific in our company. I proposed to my team, men and women, to come with their daughters, because we know we start, this topic starts in the education. And for me, it was very important for the manager, especially the manager men, when they will see the inspiring woman, he can say, oh, my daughter can do that. So it's not only a management topics, but it's a global approach. Education, recruitment, training, and after that, we will prepare the women to enter in the board, because we know it's the end of the chain training. We have to prepare the ladies to enter with very, very good training, because just a positive discrimination is not enough for us.
So we shared with us your experience as a CEO, role, model role, but as a woman leader with a strong career in large Moroccan group, and today within the Crédit Agricole group, you sit on board of directors in Europe. In your recent function, what about your experience today in Europe as a woman and a Moroccan woman, CEO of a company, board member?
Yes. When I joined the Crédit Agricole 3 years ago, I sat on 5 boards at once in Portugal, Spain, France, and Germany. And also, I am the chair of this board. So even more than that, the actions and the strategy of the Crédit Agricole resonates really with my previous initiative. Crédit Agricole now is ranking of the European Financial Times, rewarding diversity in 2021, and a women representative in the executive committee went from 6.5% to 31%, in less than 3 years, because
it's huge.
Yeah, because it's quota politic, but there is a clear roadmap. I think this is the difference, and this is what we need if we want to develop the gender equity in the company. We need to have a clear roadmap, a clear strategy with a clear KPI, and what is this strategy? Is training. I talked about mentoring. We don't have time here to talk about mentoring, but mentoring, it's very important for
other female,
and a network, of course. And we have a specific program for the young, talented women, because, as you said, Dunya, we need to prepare the women from the beginning. If you arrive and said, okay, we need a woman on board, if they are not prepared, it will not work. So a real program. So for me, the difference in a board, there is no difference, because a board, it's there is an objective. You have to contribute. For me, there is no difference between a board in France or in another country, but especially in our business, in financial, when you want to sit on board, you need a local bank and a European bank to accept your candidature. This is why training, it's very, very important, because you need to be really prepared. So for me, it's not only, we are not talking here only about gender parity, but really about diversity. We said that if you have the same people, the same age, the same training, it's difficult to see the iceberg they are heading toward. So today I'm happy because I'm seeing some men here, and it means it's not really only a women topics, but it's a real society topics. So thanks for being there.
Yeah. And I called also my colleagues from PwC, Dubai, Middle East, Casablanca. They are also here with us today. So thank you so much, Leila, for your testimony. We'll come back for another question at the end of the panel. So now, dear Lamia, is Lamia with us? Hello, hello, Lamia. It's 8 o'clock in the morning at in Casablanca.
And Sunday.
And Sunday.
And we are jet lagged now. No.
So, dear Lamia, you're the CEO of Laboratoire Sotema, a family-owned pharmaceutical group, an international group today. It's not only a Moroccan group, of which you are the chairwoman of the board. What are the specific features of your board as a family business? And did you make some change when you were the chairwoman? When you became the chairwoman of the board? Please, Lamia.
Definitely yes or no. I don't know, but I'm happy here to share with you my experience as a chairwoman. But before being a chairwoman, I'm a pharmacist, and I'm the daughter of my father. I don't know if it was positive or negative, but Sotema, first of all, was a dream of a young pharmacist who in 1976 decided to create Sotema and to have in Morocco lasted technologies manufactured and distributed. I'm saying that because I'm the first daughter of the family, and we are 3 children, and I can say that very quickly Sotema became the 4th child of the family. So right after my graduation in 1998, I joined the company. Of course, it was an answer to my father's wish to join him and to ensure the succession as many family businesses. So I was appointed in 2000 as a member of the board, but without surprise, I was more the daughter of my father than a member of the board. And like in all family businesses, the founder was the master. And the dynamic is very special, as the founder and the chairman is here to take decisions, and all the boards as a family council said yes without discussion. So it was a dynamic that I joined, but I understood very quickly that it will not be my case. So and if I wanted to take my place, I have to change the dynamic of dealing with the board. So I started to work hard, and working hard in executive as executive, you cannot see it clearly in a board. So I realized that I had to work on two big values, which are trust and credibility. And thanks to listing Sotema in the stock exchange in 2005, because it helps me a lot to improve the governance of the company. With the arrival of institutional investors and other members other than the family around the table. Then I get involved in setting up committees, and I started to know how it works.
Good practices, good practices in governance.
Yeah, I set up committees like audit committees, like strategy committees, involving with me members of the board, even it was family persons. I pushed the girls and the daughters of family to enter in the board, so it was my role also. And I pushed them also to be trained as administrator, which is very, very important. All these efforts allowed me to easily handle the position. After 20 years, in 2019, I became the chairwoman of Sotema, and I think that women know how to do this. We do it very smoothly, so it is important for my company and I'm very proud to say that I believe that the women's skills helped in Sotema to have the stability of the board and also the stability of the company also.
Mm-hmm. Thank you,
So
Lemia. Sorry. Go ahead.
No problem. It's okay.
We talked about training of women, but you talked about also an important point, training of board members. Training of board members, if you want to have a successful and efficient board. That's right?
Yes, clear. You know, when it is more a council family, it's very difficult to talk about strategic topics and to have a professional meetings. So and this training was very good for all, and especially for ladies, because she never think that they can have a role in this board. And now we have the parity. You know, we have 50% men and 50% female. And
more
it's
than
my
the
role.
law.
So I'm proud to be in CHA. I have my sister and I have other cousins there. So yes, they are with us, and we have exactly they all have the same rule around this board.
Oh, thank you, Lemia. And your company is successful in Africa. And how did you integrate this international dimension within your board to support your development in Africa?
Frankly speaking, international activity started 15 years ago, but it was just the beginning, and the vision now is to accelerate this development. And my new challenge will be to have more diversity around in the board, and of course by respecting the parity. And I'm involved now. I'm in the process now to have independent administrators with more expertise in international and especially in Africa and Middle East, as it is. It will be our future. And acceleration will be also by by buying companies, by be introduced in some companies. So this expertise is important for me, and the new challenge will be different, because diversity is also, it's not gender diversity, but it's also diversity of mindsets, and especially in this world. So, but I'm sure that my female skills will be very helpful.
So this is a call to action for the Boardroom Africa. And today we are connecting in live Lamia Tazi, Akini Ochenk, Lamia Tazi.
It's a call. Female call.
So thank you so much, Lamia, for your testimony and your experience, successful experience. We are so proud to have women industrial leaders as Lamia Tazi in Morocco. So last but not least, dear Ralia, I think she's with us also.
You are mute.
Tu es en mute?
Yes.
Yes, we hear you. So, Ralia, promoting diversity in boards also means including different profiles and backgrounds in the boards. Ralia, you lead a company in the field of arts and crafts, and you are now one of the board members of a financial institution. She's in arts and crafts manufacturing, and she's a board member in a financial institution. This is the perfect example of diversity on a board, and we are very interested in knowing your experience. And my first question, has cultural diversity been an asset or a barrier for you?
Thank you, Asia. I'm very honored to be with all of you today. I'm very impressed of all of you. I hope I will be saying a few things about my own experience. Yeah, I have a 30 years experience in arts and crafts business in Morocco in decoration because I have founded the company with my husband in the 30 years ago. It's about making and manufacturing mosaics, zillij, it's decoration sector. So therefore, I have a strong experience as an entrepreneur in managing people because we are now close to 80 people. Also in logistics and in dealing with the different nationalities because we export worldwide. So besides all of that, I have always been training myself in management skills. I like that. So every month we share some management training. And as part of my management training in 2018, I was interested to have new skills, and I have heard about the Institute of Moroccan Administration. We heard Amina talk about it, and I followed the courses in 2018, and I got certificate. I got the certificate in September, and I want to give tribute to Nezha Hayat because she's the one to have talked to me about this association, Safa. And she really thought that I had something to bring to boardroom. I did not understand why she was thinking about me. I thought this was really more reserved to women or to people for sectors such as finance and banks. So I was limiting myself. So thank you, Nezha, to have approached me for that. As my colleague was showing earlier, it offers, the CFA offers training in many different subjects. And overall, the important thing is the network. Maribeth talked about the network. Aki, everyone today talked about the network. The network, Maribeth was saying that 60% of the nomination in boards come from the network. I was very impressed of that figure. I thought it was not that much. And I think today the network is getting more and more international. And I think this conference today is a major event in this area. So I was telling you, I completed this 6-month training and I got certified. When I got my certification, it was published in the journal. And so 10 days after, when I was called from the finance body, I thought it was because they were just looking for a woman and that they just read the journal, the newspapers. And actually, when I met the president, it appeared that I had been shortlisted because I had a different background. They were actually looking for someone with different skills, not finance, not financial, not bank background. So, of course, I have created a company in the handicraft business. It's a real brand. It's a brand that now it's recognized abroad. So maybe it's also something different. I'm very strongly also involved in ESG, in environment and social governance, because we created a foundation to help women artisans in Morocco who do not have easy access to markets. So this is very important to me. We are very much involved in it. So, yeah, Mr. Jouari and Dunya Taji talked, they were mentioning earlier about the evolution of the legal environment in Morocco. And this board was actually looking for a female director, and especially maybe someone from a sector close to the consumers, closer to the consumers. So I joined the boardroom early 2019. And in the beginning, I have suffered, I think, from the imposter syndrome.
You have suffered too.
Most of us perfectly know about that syndrome. The imposter syndrome, I think, is really something that most women feel. I had that impression that being there was only due to the fact I was a woman. I found difficult to dare asking questions. My questions seemed to me very different from the others. They seemed to me weird. And finally, it appeared that my viewpoints were often fresh and were showing different angles. So I think I was positively surprised that I was very easily welcomed to this board. So that's how it began.
It was your challenge as a sportive woman. It's always challenges for Ralia. So, last question, Ralia. How does this diversity contribute to the efficiency and the performance of the board? You're a board member, and I think that you are also the president of the audit committee?
Absolutely. First of all, I'm trying to always remember the role of the independent director. The director, he or she, is in the boardroom in order to preserve the interests of the organization itself, as all the other partners in the board represent their own interests. They usually represent their own interests. So sometimes we feel a bit lonely because, hey, we're here for the organization interest. So I remember the first board I attended, the president of the audit committee at the time presents his speech and the figures and so on. And when he finishes, all the partners say, oh, wow, that presentation is really perfect today. Is it because we now have a new independent director in the boardroom? So I had not pronounced one word yet. And I think they were already influenced by the presence of the independent director. I think it's a very important thing for good governance. So I have been also experiencing this board now for about 3 years. And as you know, a lot of the conversation in the boardroom depends on also who is around the table. Within the 3 years, I have experienced different changes in the boardroom, pushing me to adapt constantly because the change, for example, of the members, different president, different members, you always have to get to know the people because this is the role of the independent director, to get to know everyone, to try to understand where they come from. So this is important for the balance of the board. So I think changes, I'm not afraid of changes. I think when you're an entrepreneur and you have your own company, changes, it's on us. It's every day. You have to adapt. You have to make decisions because of all the changes. So I think, yeah, being an entrepreneur is really an asset, I think, for the boardroom. Even if I feel sometimes, as I was telling you, uncomfortable by having different point of views, now I get to be more confident about expressing them. And I'm learning to think that this difference of viewpoints is maybe what is really expected from the boardroom. I'm not just ashamed of having different point of view. I think they are expecting from me. And I think this is, after 3 years now, I think that in their, their comportement, their
behavior.
Behavior. Thank you. Yeah, in their behavior, I think they are just waiting for me to be just maybe I have a different point of view. Experiencing also the COVID crisis in my company allowed me to develop also some reflex. I do not have the same profile or background of the others. So instead of being a lack of skills, I think it seems to be really an asset for that. So we also tend to simplify the problematics because when people are from the same sector, they got to go into too many details. And I have noticed, I'm trying to stay humble, but I have noticed that all of them, they get to go into the details and sometimes they lack of large view on the strategy and some problematic we may face with the organization. So yeah, about a year ago, I was nominated president of the audit committee, as you were saying. Asia, I was very shocked because I thought it was very heavy for me. It's a big responsibility, and thank God Safa was there. And remember last year in Asia, there was this training on audit committee that I was very, very attentive. I think I never followed a course such like that. So I think I memorized every sentence that I learned from that training. It was really, really positive for me. So when the board chose me for this position, it would have me more logic to choose a competent financial member from the board. The main reason why I was chosen is also because the new laws of good governance in Morocco advocate to have the independent director to lead the audit committee. So that was an additional responsibility for me. And believe me, it was helpful to have all the CFA people around me. I wanted to illustrate another event that happened. The organization had recently an issue with an important business partner. The relationship were not fluent and easy. And thanks to my network with the company they were having issue with, I was able to help and even to initiate and attend some business meetings with all of them in order to help the teams improve the business and get to am I too long?
Ralia, you hear me?
Yes, am I too long?
Sorry, yes. You're so involved and enthusiastic.
Passionate.
Dear Ralia.
Am I too long?
Yeah, a little bit, but I need to. Time is running out.
Okay.
Your experience is amazing. And I'm so happy also to have your experience that you shared with us, because it's also the point of view of a woman coming from another industry and joining an important board. So thank you so much, Ralia, from Casablanca, and looking forward to see you in Casablanca. Please stay here just 1 minute, and I want an applause, please, for these 3 women. Can we see Lamia Tazi, please, also? Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ladies. Time is running out, and we are a few moments away from closing our session. So now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you, Lamia. This is nearly the end of our conference, but we let the best intervention. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to welcome Mrs. Nadia Alawi, the Minister of Economy and Finance in the Kingdom of Morocco. And she is also the General Commissioner of the Moroccan section at the Dubai 2020 World Expo. So we are very honored to have Mrs. Nadia Fettah.
Good morning, Asia.
Hello, Nadia.
Hello. I wish I could be with you today in Dubai, but thanks to technology, I can be present with you from Casablanca, like my other fellow colleagues some minutes ago. I would like to thank Her Excellency Shamsa Salah, President of Dubai Women Establishment, also Mr. Jouahri, the Wali Governor of Bank al Maghrib, for being present with us today, and Mrs. Amina Filigigi as the Chairman of the Club of Femmes Administrateurs CFA. Honorable participants, ladies and gentlemen, I would like first to thank and warmly congratulate Expo 2020 Dubai for this great initiative of having a women's pavilion in the Expo. I think it's the first time ever that women have their own pavilion to discuss the big challenges that are facing parity, equality, and inclusion of women. Thanks to the Expo, to Women's Pavilion, and to the commitments of all the participants, women are in the spotlight today. The strong, the committed, and the proactive women, and the exceptional and talented ladies who gave us earlier today their testimonies during this conference. Their testimonies demonstrate the great added value they are bringing to the governance body, not only through their managerial skill, but also through their progressive and creative spirit. Since its creation, the Club des Femmes Administrateurs, which will turn to 10-year-olds next year, and of which I'm a co-founder, has constantly valued and defended gender equality and diversity on Moroccan companies' director boards. The CFR believes firmly in this principle, which are essential in our democracy and which have positive economic but also social impacts for our country. Initially, and I probably share this with many of the women present today, I was quite against the idea of defending quotas or defending special regulation to push for women in the corporate world. But along the way, and the moment I integrated myself different boards, I become definitely aware of the need to feminize them in order to influence the various decisions to positively discriminate the quality of representation of women and the number of women. You gave us testimonies that shows that the most successful companies have understood that diversity in general and the diversity towards women is an opportunity and have integrated in their strategy to optimize their competitiveness through this diversity. Gender diversity in governance bodies strengthen the decision-making processes, provides a safeguard against single gender thinking model and conformism. It also contributes to improving the collective intelligence of government bodies. Not including women in the management of a company is a real strategic, I would say, mistake and a meaningless choice. In addition to their skills, women take an important contribution, a better understanding of expectation, needs, better listening, and a greater creativity. In the most advanced company, many financial funds now trust that the most progressive performance companies in terms of their consideration of the gender balance when composing their boards of director and executive committees, as well as position occupied by women. This demonstrates the importance taken of managerial parity in the eyes of tomorrow's investor, a pledge of confidence, discipline, and good governance practices. Our wish has always been to see women in the council and strategic position, not only for discipline, but because they are also strategists. Allow me just to give you, I would say, some nice progress that our kingdom is now achieving. For the first time in the new government, we have 6 women in position, in ministers that are strategic position, such as the energy transition, the tourism, the planning of the territory, but also the finance. This is quite unprecedented. We had women in the position, but not in this position, and it's almost the double of the last government. This progress should not hide the fact that before claiming for parity in terms of access in the governance position, I would say that Africa and Middle East women still have some way to go in terms of parity in the access to work, to equal pay, to get their deserved management position. This cannot be achieved without the establishment of a proactive legislation and overcoming the organizational, cultural, and behavioral barriers that remain not only in companies, but also in the mindsets in our countries. As stressed the key role of the institutions in gaining the regulatory framework, Morocco can attest this through the amendment made this summer, and I think Dunia mentioned it earlier, made to the corporation law, which introduced quota with the governing bodies of incorporated company, including the one launching IPOs. I just wanted to congratulate Lamia, who has not been waiting for this law to assure gender parity in her board. I also underline the importance of the role of association and civil society in general in supporting the evolution of mentalities, contributing to the development of women in working life, It's important working life because we know that a lot of problem facing women coming from the, I would say, all the climates that they are offered to in their job. And this, in this case, unite and support women in order to facilitate their access to boards and prepare them to their role as director. Gender parity in the governance of company and institution is in my conviction. I'm therefore determined to act through the various means at our disposal to promote good governance and gender diversity within the board of public and private company in Morocco and make this parity come to reality for our daughters and for their daughters, hopefully in the future. So I will invite all the structures, actors, and sectors that you represent to make similar commitments. It is our collective responsibility to assure for a better future for women. The responsibility of all the decision makers, employers, public decision makers that we represent, it is up to us to change things in the present. It is up to us to give to the future a chance. Dear all, the milestones that we have achieved together are good milestones, but and allowed us to go for good achievements. But we think that the road is still very long. To do this, it is important to have a roadmap, a clear roadmap, which would also call for a pact, which could allow us, all of us, governments, companies, associations, to project ourselves today in this great ambition. The sit-in for the Dubai Expo 2020 is probably a very appropriate place to debate such an important subject. I hope that all the great testimonies and the different experiences that you shared today can translate into concrete actions. I therefore suggest that the completion of the work of this meeting and the recommendation agreed lead to the Women on Boards Pact, to which we all symbolically commit. Thank you all for your engagement, and I hope that all the institutions worldwide will do their best to increase the representativeness of women in governing bodies and advance equality. Before just ending, I'm just changing my hat. In my position of the Commissioner General of the Moroccan Pavilion in Expo 2020, I would like to invite all the participants present to visit our great pavilion. And for those who are joining by Visio, hopefully they can visit the Expo, Great Expo, and pay a visit also to our Moroccan pavilion. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Mrs. Nadia, for being with us. You're a real model role for all the Moroccan women. And thank you for your insights, as they perfectly bring our Men on Board session to its end. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us here today in Dubai Expo 2020. Thank you also for all the team for the perfect organization of this conference. Thank you for the Moroccan section of Dubai Expo 2020. And we are honored. I was honored to moderate this great conference today. And we are also honored to develop women in their way of developing, rising, being very strong contributor in our societies. Thank you so much. Bien sûr.